Okay, so bago tayo pumunta sa freedom of religion, i-tackle muna natin yung right against self-incrimination. So, what does incriminating question mean? It means a question which tends to establish his participation in a criminal act. So, when does the right against self-incrimination apply? When will it apply, no? It applies only to testimonial compulsion and production of documents, papers, chattels in court. It also applies to this instance, no, in the case of Beltran versus Samson. Writing is something more than moving the body or the hands or the fingers. Writing is not a purely mechanical act because it requires the application of intelligence and attention. In other words, no, the right against self-incrimination can be availed, no, can be availed of in case kinumpel yung accused to write something. Why? Kasi communicative in essence po ang pagsusulat. Production of document nga, covered ng right against self-incrimination, eh di malamang yung writing din. Di ba? Covered siya ng right against self-incrimination. So if the accused does not want to write, does not want to produce documents, does not want to testify, he cannot be compelled to do so. Otherwise, his right against self-incrimination would be violated. However, ito yan a different application shall be given where the defendant at the trial of his case and testifying in his own behalf, kailangan pala linyahan ko rin yun, denies that a certain writing or signature is his own hand. So, on cross-examination, he may be compelled to write in order to compare his handwriting with the one in question. Why? Bakit po kapag on cross, pwede na siyang pagsulatin dito? Kasi unang-una, nag-testify siya. No? So, he took the witness stand. So, winave niya na yung right niya to remain silent. Di ba? Now, he chose to speak. Okay. Next, dininay niya that this writing is, dininay niya na itong writing na to ay sulat niya. So, dapat, dahil may denial ka, the opposing party on cross-examination has the right to determine whether your denial, di ba to test whether your denial is credible or not. So, yung right mo against self-incrimination, ito yan, you already waived it. Kasi dininay mo eh. Hindi ko po sulat yan. The cross-examining party must be able to determine if you're telling the truth or not. Okay? You get the point, no? Next. An accused may be compelled to be photographed or measured. His garments may be removed and his body may be examined without violating the person's right against self-incrimination. Why? Kasi po, hindi naman testimonial compulsion to. You're just being subjected to something. So, kailan po, no, bigyan natin ng context na paano ko yung matatanong sa right against self-incrimination. Sabihin natin, nag-file ng action for petition for recognition of illegitimacy of the child. Petition for recognition of an illegitimate child, Mr. Juan de la Cruz, something like that. Ano ngayon ang gagawin ng petitioner para mapatunayan na tatay niya yung respondent? Magpapa-DNA test. Can the respondent refuse to take the DNA test? The answer is no. Because that is not covered by the right against self-incrimination. Di ba? That is just examining the body. His body was being examined through a DNA test. Hindi po siya testimonial comparison. With that being said, he can be subjected, no, even against his will, to a DNA testing. Okay. It does not apply to object evidence. It does not exclude the body as evidence when it may be material. Morphine for slot of the mouth does not violate. Okay. An order to put on a pair of pants for size was allowed. Parang yung kay O.J. Simpson. Okay. Did the glove fit? O, di ba? O, kinompel ka, isuot mo yung gloves kung sakto sa'yo o hindi. Kasi kung di sakto sa'yo, baka hindi ka ang pumatay. Kinumpel ka. Sabi mo, Your Honor, ayoko. Pwede mo bang sabihin hindi? Hindi po pwedeng tanggihan. Pag sinabing isuot mo. Okay? Sige. A woman accused of adultery may be compelled to be tested for pregnancy. Why? Kasi mas madaling mapatunayan na may adultery. Di ba? Kung pregnant yan, tapos later on, papa-DNA test yung bata, di ba? Talagang ibang tao naka-sexual intercourse ng babae, ng wife, making her liable, di ba? For adultery. You get the point. Getting fingerprints also not covered by the right against self-incrimination, and so on and so forth. Okay. Tandaan nyo, the coverage of right against self-incrimination applies in all proceedings. Sa US po kasi, criminal lang. No? So pag may nakikita kayong TV show sa US, may mag-i-invoke ng right against self-incrimination in a civil case, bawal yun. Okay? In the US, right against self-incrimination is only available in criminal cases. Sa Philippines po, it applies to all proceedings, whether administrative, disciplinary, civil, criminal, you get the point. Okay? And even during Senate hearings, no? Ayan, no? Marami pong Senate hearings na nagaganap ngayon, di ba? Sa mga public officials. O ngayon yung public official, sabihin natin, finala ng kaso. O, mayroon siyang kaso for plunder. Tapos syempre, nag-Senate hearing din, no? Kasi in aid of legislation. O mag-testify siya kay, ano, no? Kay Senate, sa mga senador. May tinanong, sabi ng senador, ikaw ba ang pumirma ng mga resibo? Yun ang tanong. Na nag-disburse ng pera ng gobyerno. Siyempre, pag siya pumirma niyan, mahahalata siya. Di ba siya nag-disburse ng pera, ibig sabihin siya accountable talaga dyan, nakuha niya yung pera, ano ang resulta? Bakit hindi mo ma-account? Failure to account. Public funds, di ba, prima facie? Evidence of misappropriation. So, tinanong siya ng senador, ikaw ba pumirma ng disbursement? Ano gagawin ng resource person, ng witness? Siya yung accused din sa criminal case for plunder. I invoke my right against self-incrimination. Kahit Senate hearing. Why? Testimonial compulsion yun eh. Di ba? And at the same time, that question, no, if you answer that, that will incriminate you. That will tend to establish your participation in the criminal act. Napagtahi-tahi na natin lahat, di ba? Kaya po, pwede mag-invoke my right. You can invoke your right in a civil case, criminal case, admin case, disciplinary case. You get the point. Okay? Who may invoke the right against self-incrimination? It can be invoked by the accused himself for obvious reasons. It can also be invoked by the witness when an incriminating question was asked of him in the witness stand. Naalala ko to sa palabas sa sa Suits. Si Harvey Specter, kung kilala nyo, no? Sa kaso na yun, bibigyan ko lang kayo ng background, no? Yung kliyente ni Harvey, no? Kinasuhan siya for for being parang principal by inducement sa pagpatay sa mga kalaban sa negosyo. Okay. This girl, no, this woman, she was accused of committing for being a principal, one of the conspirators, one of the principals in the killing of the business rival, no, rival in the business. Rivals in the business. Later on, ang ginawa ni Harvey doon sa sa nangyari, yung right hand man dinala ni Harvey sa witness stand. Tinanong, ikaw ba ang in Tagalog na lang ikaw ba kaibigan mo yung killer? Kasi syempre sila yung mayaman sila, negosyante, sila lang yung nag-utos. Supposedly, no? Syempre may gumawa, iba yung killer talaga, iba yung nag-execute ng crime. So tinanong ni Harvey, in Tagalog na lang, kunwari si hindi to si Harvey, si si, Harry, hindi na si Harvey. O, ayan. Ano ba Tagalog na Har? Okay, si Hernando. O, ayan, si Hernando na lang to. Hindi na si Harvey. O, ayan. Sabi ni Hernando dun sa dun sa Hernan. O, ayan, sabi ni Hernan. Sabi ni Hernan dun sa uh, right hand man. Tinanong niya, best friend mo ba yung pumatay? Ano sinabi ng right hand man? Doon sa TV show, no, nung Suits. I decline to answer, sabi. O bakit? Tanong natin, yun ang sabi niya, I decline to answer. O attorney, tanong niya ako, bakit ganun? Bakit I decline to answer yung sinabi? Ang ibig po sabihin nun, I decline to answer because I am invoking my right against self-incrimination. Okay? Yun. I decline to answer because I am invoking my right against self-incrimination. Kasi yung questions ni Harvey, no, syempre, ni Harvey tuloy, Sige si Harvey na lang, si Harvey Specter naman yung pangalan nung character, iniba ko pa yung pangalan. O yan, sabi ko siyempre si Harvey Specter ibi-build niya yung ano niya, 'di ba? 'Pag nasa trial ka kasi hindi naman agad sasabihin mo na, "Pinatay mo ba o hindi?" Hindi naman gano'n, eh. That's not how you build your questions, 'di ba? 'Pag sa trial ka. You gradually get to it, to that point, 'di ba? Mga 3, 4, 5 questions before that, you're building your case basically. Okay, so yung unang tanong, best friend mo ba? Kasi sabihin natin na-convict na yung killer, convicted na yung killer tapos na. Best friend mo ba yung pumatay dun sa mga kalaban sa negosyo? You can invoke your right against yung right-hand man, he can already invoke his right against self-incrimination. Kasi that question, 'pag sinabi niyang yes, tuloy-tuloy na sa rabbit hole 'yan. Palalim na ng palalim hanggang later on ikaw na umamin na ikaw pala ang nag-utos sa ipapatay yung mga business rival, hindi yung kliyente ni Harvey Specter. See? Pero in that scenario, yung pong right-hand man, hindi naman siya accused. He was just a witness na dinala ni Harvey to the witness stand. Di ba? He was just a witness, di ba, of the parties during the case. Okay? So you get the point. No? So pag po accused, in a criminal case ka, you can refuse to take the stand altogether. No? You have the right to remain silent yung sinabi ko kanina. Nalito na dito, sorry, balik tayo dito sa, however, ito sa an accused who testifies in his own behalf waives his right against self-incrimination, nalito na. Pag pala nalito na, you testifying in his own behalf, di ba dahil umakyat siya sa witness stand, ibig ko sabihin dito, dahil nagpunta siya sa witness stand, winave niya ni right niya against self-incrimination, yun pala yung point ko. So on cross, pwede na talaga siyang tanungin anything under the sun. He cannot invoke his right anymore. Kasi already testified eh. Okay? Yun pala. So ngayon, right against self-incrimination for accused, he may refuse to take the stand altogether. Okay? Yung pala right to remain silent na hassle. Sa custodial investigation nga pala yun, nalito na. Okay, you get the point, no? He may refuse to take the witness stand altogether. This rule may apply even to a co-defendant in a joint trial. Kasi co-accused eh. Ba't na co-defendant pa nilay ko rito? Co-accused. Okay? In a joint trial. O next, paano pag witness ka? Nako, medyo ako ang totoong pumatay, sabi mo sa loob nung witness. Pero siyempre, ayaw kong malaman na ako pumatay, madulas pa ako, hindi ako magte-testify. Pwede ba 'yon? No. Hindi pwede 'yon. Okay? A witness, no, once may subpoena, no? Once a subpoena is served, no, to the witness, he must testify. Otherwise, he will be cited in contempt as provided under Rule 71. Okay? Subject siya to contempt. So, pwede siyang magkaroon ng order of arrest. Okay. So, when can the witness invoke his right against self-incrimination? Once the incriminating question was asked. Okay? So, same thing po, no? Ayan, no? I-correlate na lang natin. Balik tayo sa Consti 1. Sabihin natin, akusado siya, di ba? Plunder case. O ngayon, nagkaroon ng inquiry in aid of legislation yung Congress. Can the witness, can the accused pala, can the accused refuse to testify as a resource person before the Congress? The answer is no. Kasi sa Congress po, sa administrative hearing, hindi ka na ma-accuse dyan. You are just a witness, a resource person. So alam naman natin, as provided under Article 6, di ba, sa jurisprudence, ah ang tawag dito, once you are summoned, no, to become a resource person in a congressional hearing, you must attend in aid of, kung inquiry yan in aid of legislation. Otherwise, you will be cited in contempt by the Congress, whether Senate yan or House of Representatives. Okay? Kasi nga witness ka lang naman, di ka naman accused. So kahit na-accuse siya sa isang kaso for plunder, pag pag sinamon siya sa Congress, he has to go there. Okay? O now he is there. Mai-invoke lang po niya right against self-incrimination niya in Congress if an incriminating question was asked to him. Pag hindi niya pwedeng i-invoke yan. So yan, medyo get nyo na yung ibig ko sabihin, pinalawak ko na ng pinalawak, no? Okay, so effect of violation, siyempre, if you violated the right against self-incrimination of the accused, pinilit mo pa rin, kahit na ayaw na mag-testify, inadmissible in evidence po yan. And the fruit of the poisonous tree will also apply in this case. Okay. Sige, pakibasa lang po ito, ano. Yeah. Just read these examples, no. Kasi ano naman, I think I've explained this enough and hindi naman na siya kailangan ng mahabang discussion. Basta tandaan niyo, dalawa lang kailangan niyong tandaan for ano, for right against self-incrimination. Testimonial compulsion only, no? Hindi puwede ang, hindi puwedeng i-invoke ang right against self-incrimination if the body of the accused is, subjected to examination, hindi puwede, and so on and so forth. To demonstrate something, hindi puwede. Next is, this applies to all proceedings, not only criminal but also civil, administrative, disciplinary, Senate hearings. This right applies. Okay. And, number 3, no, the right against self-incrimination, can be invoked differently, no, by the accused and by can be invoked in different circumstances by the accused and by the witness. The accused can invoke it to refuse, so he can refuse to take the stand altogether. On the other hand, ang witness, he can only invoke it once an incriminating question was asked to him. He cannot invoke the right against self-incrimination to refuse to testify altogether. He cannot do that. Otherwise, he will be cited in contempt, so he will be imprisoned. Okay, we get the point. Let's go to the next. Right, no? Tingnan natin. Okay na itong adequate legal assistance and free access to courts, no? We're good there. Eminent domain, we're good there. Sige. Itakil natin paakyat na lang. Okay. Sa ano tayo, non-impairment of contracts, no? So what does this mean? Sabi po diyan, no law shall be passed impairing the obligations on contracts. Something like that, no? Tama ba ako? No law impairing the obligations of contract shall be passed. Ayun. No law impairing the obligations of contract shall be passed. No? So what does law mean? It must be understood in its generic sense. It covers municipal ordinances, executive orders, administrative rules. Okay? Also, however, no, when you say law, it does not cover judicial and quasi-judicial power. Okay? So, the courts, no, they have the power to tawag dito. Ayan. However, the non-impairment clause is a limit on the exercise of legislative power and not of judicial or quasi-judicial power. Hence, SEC's approval of the rehabilitation plan did not impair BPI's right to contract. So, anuhin natin, what do you call this? Gawa natin ng example, no? Sige, para malinaw. Sabihin natin, Mr. ABC Corporation was insolvent. Sabihin natin technically insolvent lang. Ano ibig sabihin ng technically insolvent? Sige nga. Anyway, di naman nakakasali na chineck ko yung commercial law, di naman kasali 'to sa ano, sa tama naman ako 'no, di naman siya kasali sa syllabus. Anyway, technical insolvency means that the debtor has assets more than liabilities. However, di ba, ah, he fails to ano ba, he fails to pay his liabilities whenever it is due in the ordinary course of trade or business, something like that. No? Basically, technical insolvency is synonymous to illiquid, no? You have enough assets, it's just that you have non-liquid assets. So you need to dispose this first so that you can pay your liabilities, no? Hindi po siya actual insolvency kasi pag actual insolvency, mas marami ka talagang utang kumpara sa pagmamay-ari. Pag technical insolvency, mas marami kang assets kumpara sa liabilities. It's just that you see that you will that you foresee you are foreseeing that you will be generally unable to pay your liabilities whenever they fall due in the ordinary course of trade or business, something like that. So ABC Corporation was technically insolvent. Okay, it owed XYZ Bank, no? Wag pala XYZ Bank, XYZ Lending Corporation, 10 million pesos, 10 million pesos with 5% monthly interest. Wag pala 5%, sabihin natin 2.5% monthly interest. Ayan. Okay. Now, ABC Corporation filed a petition for rehabilitation with the RTC. Ito, SEC pa to. No? RTC na ngayon. No? With the RTC. Later, the RTC approved, no, a rehabilitation plan which modified, no, the interest rate, no, which downgraded na lang, which reduced the interest rate of the loan from 2.5% per month to ano ba? 1% per month. XYZ Lending Corporation contends that the RTC ayan, violated Section 10, Article C, Article 3 of the Constitution, which states that no law impairing the obligation of contracts shall be passed. Is XYZ Lending Corporation correct? The answer is no. Because the non-impairment clause is a limit on the exercise of legislative power and not of judicial or quasi-judicial power. In this case po, judicial power to RTC yan eh. Diba? So, aminin mo natin no sa hindi, talagang inimpair. Di naman pala inimpair. Mali. That's not the correct word. Talaga namang minodify yung contract. Di ba? Binaba mo yung interest rate eh. 2.5 monthly interest rate is not an exorbitant interest. Di ba? Ang exorbitant interest po under jurisprudence is 3%. O in this case, 2.5, pasok. Di ba? Valid yan. Pero, siyempre, baka hirap na magbayad yung corporation. Ano ginawa ng RTC? Nag-approve siya ng rehabilitation plan, ibinaba yung interest rate. So talagang na-modify yung kontrata nila. Is this a valid exercise of judicial power? Yes. No? Get the point. Okay, next. Ano po nakasulat sa sa section 10? Nakalagay obligation of contracts. Tandaan niyo ano nakasulat? Contracts. O ngayon paano pag halimbawa franchise 'yan? O, ngayon po usong-uso yung mga franchise sa TV, 'di ba? O ito wala ng franchise ito, tinanggalan ng prangkisa sa TV. Tanong, na-violate ba yung Section 10, Article 10 pag dinina yung franchise? The answer is no. Ito nakalagay. Timber licenses, permits, and license agreements are merely privileges granted by the state to qualified entities and do not vest in the latter a permanent or irrevocable right. Hence, they are not deemed contracts. No? Ialay ko lang dito, note, the same applies to legislative franchises. Thus, no? Legislative franchises, no? Thus, the grant of franchise by the Congress can be withdrawn. Can be withdrawn by the Congress. Since this is a mere privilege. Granted by the state to qualified entities. Yun po nangyari, di ba? So, pwede bang no? So, pag ba hindi na ni-renew yung franchise, are we saying na na-violate yung Section 10, Article 3, no? Kasi it's not a contract, it's a mere privilege. Okay. Limitations on the non-impairment of contracts. No? So, una nga is, all existing laws in the Constitution are deemed included in the contract. So, if the contract violates a clear provision of the law or a clear provision of the Constitution, that provision shall be considered as invalid, di ba? Void. Next. The contract is also subject to the inherent powers of the state, specifically police power. Okay, specifically the non-impairment clause yields to police power. Okay, tingnan natin, no? The enactment of BP 22 does not impair the freedom to contract under Section 10, Article 3. The freedom of contract is freedom to enter into lawful contracts. Okay. So, pag nagpatalbog ka ng cheque, alam naman natin sa commercial law, a check is an evidence of indebtedness. Pwedeng yan ikontrata nyo, yung cheque, no? Hindi lang po siya negotiable instrument, yan na yung katunayan na may utang ka doon sa tao. Oh, pinatalbog mo yung cheque. Siyempre, BP22 ka, di ba? Meron kang crime as provided under BP22, BP bilang 22. Ngayon, does this impair the freedom to contract of the issuer, the drawer of the check? The answer is no. Because the freedom to contract is only limited to lawful contracts. A bouncing check is illegal. Diba? It is contrary to law and laws are deemed included in the contract. So, ayan, contracts that contravene public policy are not lawful. Okay. Ito, gusto ko to, as a police power na lang. Okay na to, letter B na to. The bus operators claim that DO number 11812 and MC number 2012-001 violate the non-impairment clause because the issuances force them to abandon the time-honored employment contracts with their drivers and conductors. No? Is this contention correct? No. Labor contracts are impressed with public interest and therefore must yield to the common good or to the police power. Ano po ba kasi ito? No? Ito, meron kasing employment contract yung mga yung conductor, yung driver at saka yung common carrier, no, yung transport corporation. O ngayon nag-impose po ng DO yung Department of Labor and Employment na sinasabi na hindi na pwede ang time-honored employment contracts. Yan po ang context niyan. Kahit na yun na pinag-agreehan nila earlier. Sabihin natin 2010. O sige, time-honored employment contracts tayo. O dumating yung DO number 11812 at saka MC number 2010-001, sabi, hindi pwede yan. Sabi nung mga transport corporation, that is unconstitutional, Your Honor, because you violated our freedom to contract. Tama ba sila? No. No? Because the non-impairment clause, no, ito, non-impairment clause, the non-impairment of contracts as provided under Section 10, Article 3 yields to valid exercise of police power. Common good. Yan yung pag mga common good, public welfare, alam niyo na yan. Regulation, pag ganyan ng mga dialogue, police power yan. Okay? Most, sometimes, no? More often than not, ganun. Yield, impressive public interest, mga ganyan, police power yan. Okay? Sige. You get the point. Okay guys, let's go to freedom of religion na, no? Tapos na tayo sa impairment of contracts. Sa freedom of religion, tandaan nyo, ang tanong lang lagi dito, two aspects, no? Para na naman tayong freedom of speech, di ba? Meron tayong mga sangay-sangay dyan, di ba? Yung freedom of expression, may prior restraint, tapos sa subsequent punishment, sa prior restraint, may content-based, content neutral, tapos kapag content-based, pwedeng strict scrutiny test or clear and present danger test. Kapag content neutral, O'Brien test, di ba? Medyo gano'n, no? Connect-connect. Paano naman po sa freedom of religion? Ganito lang yan, pasisimplihin natin. Sa freedom of religion, may dalawang clauses dyan. Una is yung non-establishment clause. Okay? A law cannot be made establishing a religion. Pag sinabi mo establish, it includes benefiting, no? Benefiting a religion, no? Yun yun. Pag sinabi mong no law shall be made palagi dito, respecting the establishment of a religion, no? Included dito, ulitin ko, yung benefits given to that religion. Advantages given to that religion, also unconstitutional. Yung law na yan, if it promotes, yan, advocates, creates, establishes, benefits, and so on, a religion. Next, what's the second clause, no? Yung free exercise clause. Okay? Ngayon, yung non-establishment clause, how can we determine if it was violated or not? Siyempre, di naman enough yung sentence lang under Section 5, Article 6, di ba? Ay, Article 6, Article 3. That's not enough. Diba? How can we determine if this law actually established, benefited, and so on a religion? Diyan po papasok yung lemon test. Ganyan, no? Sabi ko sa inyo, Cosito is all about summarizing everything into fewer words. No? And summarizing, connecting everything, and understanding these principles. So, dapat hindi ganun kahaba ang thought process natin. Kasi doon kayo malilito. Okay. So, paano naman ngayon pag tinanong tayo sa tawag dito, free exercise clause? Paano natin malalaman if the free exercise clause was violated or not? Una muna, ano ba yung mga freedom? What are the things that you are free to exercise? Una is, you have the freedom to believe. Sabihin ko na sa inyo to. Sige. Bago ko pa itakil dito para mabilis na. The second one is freedom to act on one's belief. So pag sinabi mo freedom to believe, you are free to believe whoever, whatever you want to believe in. Okay? You want to believe na ang Diyos mo, kalabaw, you are free to believe that. No one can stop you from believing that. Okay? Hindi pwede. Otherwise, unconstitutional yun kasi that is violative of the free exercise clause. O ngayon, freedom to act on one's belief. Diyan na po nag-aakaroon ng malaking problem. Diyan na po papasok yung strict separation. Yan, yung tatlong levels ng separation of church and state, no? Strict separation, strict neutrality, at saka benevolent neutrality. O the Philippines, we adopt the benevolent neutrality approach. So kalimutan nyo na para sa akin yung strict separation sa strict neutrality. Focus muna tayo sa benevolent neutrality. Okay. Ano ibig sabihin ng benevolent? What does that mean? It means you tolerate. Okay? We tolerate religious expression. We tolerate the freedom of the people to express their religious beliefs. Okay? So, if there is a regulation, no? If there is a regulation, a law, an order, no? A rule prohibiting the religious expression of a person, what approach will be used? Benevolent neutrality. So the general rule is we accommodate, we tolerate the religious expression. Ano po context niyan? That means if the religious expression, the religious beliefs of this person, diba, are inconsistent with the order, with the law, with the rules that the government issued, promulgated, enacted, whatever. Okay? This person, diba, shall be exempted from the application of that law. Okay, that's the general rule. Ano exception dyan? Clear and present danger test at saka strict scrutiny test, which we will tackle in length later. Pero nag-get nyo na kahit paano yung brief background ng topic natin. Okay, let's go to lemon test. Doon tayo sa establishment clause. No? So establishment clause, lemon test, may 3 pong test that we have to check. Okay? If pumasa sa test na to, that means that law is not unconstitutional. Okay? Pag bumagsak sa lahat, okay, yun ang point ko dito, no? Pag pumasa sa kahit isa, wait, gawin ko lang ng example. Okay. Nalito pa kasi pumasa bumagsak na ganyan. Sabihin ko na lang, no? What are the 3 tests to determine if the establishment clause was not violated? First is the purpose prong, the second is the effect prong, and the last is the entanglement prong. The most important prongs here are the first and the second. Okay? The first prong, the statute has a secular legislative purpose. What do we mean when we say secular? No? Ibig pa sabihin ng secular is non-religious. Okay? Its purpose, tandaan nyo, yan naman tayo sa purpose, yung interest behind that law, yung interest behind that order, it is non-religious in nature. Okay? Next, the principal or primary effect of this statute neither advances nor inhibits religion. However, tandaan nyo, ang nakasulat, principal or primary. Kung merong incidental na naibigay na benefit sa isang reliyon, ganun po talaga. Walang magagawa. Okay lang yun, no? That does not violate the Constitution, specifically the non-establishment clause. Hindi po mababiolate. Okay? Kasi the principal effect, if it is not to advance or to inhibit religion, that is okay. And lastly is, it does not foster an excessive government entanglement with religion. Let's apply the lemon test ngayon. Yung Aglipay versus Ruiz, nagkaroon kasi ng yung notes nung araw. Ayan, no? Postage stamps, no? Commemorating the celebration in the city of Manila of the 33rd International Eucharistic Congress organized by the Roman Catholic Church. Aglipay, it's part siya ng iba siyang religious sect. So, syempre, nag-petition sila. Nasabi nila, this is unconstitutional because you established a religion by ordering the issuance of these postage stamps. Tanong, does this violate the Constitution? The answer is no. Why? Sa purpose pro, does this order by the Director of Posts, does this have a secular legislative purpose? Yes. The purpose of the issuance of such postage stamps was secular, which was to promote Philippine tourism. Siyempre, pag nagkaroon ng Eucharistic Congress sa Philippines, edi yung mga religious devout Catholics pupunta sa Philippines to join the festivities, edi tumaas yung tourism sa Philippines, no? Next, what is the principal or primary effect of this issuance ng Director of Post? The primary effect is to encourage foreigners into visiting the Philippines, no? Actually, foreigners, no? Tama. Okay. The fact that it mentions an event organized by the Roman Catholic Church is merely incidental. Kasi nga sabi ko, incidental benefit is allowed. Pero dapat hindi primary, hindi principal. And lastly, the issuance does not foster an excessive entanglement with religion. So, ibig sabihin, pag pumasa po sa lahat ng tests, compliant yung law sa Constitution. No? Pag may bumagsak na isa, yung pala point ko, patay tayo dyan. That is unconstitutional. Okay? Sige, next. Yun naman kasing one at saka two, purpose prong at saka effect prong para sila magkapatid. Siyempre, pag hindi secular legislative purpose mo, malamang ang primary effect ng law na yan, it advances religion. Di ba? If that law, the purpose of that law is non-secular, malamang the primary effect of that law is to advance a religion. So you get the point, di ba? Magkapatid sila. One cannot go without the other. Okay, next tayo. Yung DOJ po, sa Hall of Justice niya, tinotolerate po niya ang holding of masses. Misa, no? Pag lunch break, kapag uwian, pwedeng magmisa Catholic Church. Tanong, is this violative of the Lemon Test? Is this violative of the non-establishment clause? No? No. No? It is not unconstitutional. Why? Well, in this case naman kasi, wala naman kasing law, ordinance, or circular issued by the Department of Justice na dapat itong mga empleyado ng DOJ, they must attend the Catholic Masses. The employees went to the Masses at their own will. So sige, sabihin natin, nagpatayo ng conference room. Ayan, gagawin ko lang ng sarili example. Nagpatayo ng conference room ang DOJ. What is the purpose of building this room of this area? Is this secular or non-secular? It is secular. It is not religious. Kaya po tinayo yan so that the DOJ can hold big events. Di ba? Whatever event it may be, pwedeng yung retreat nila, pwedeng meeting with other departments and so on, 'di ba? Pwede pong puntahan niyang area na 'yan. That's meron po siyang secular purpose. O next, what's the primary effect of this? It does not advance religion, 'di ba? Ang effect niyan is for the operation of DOJ. So it's for public, 'di ba? Public purpose 'yan, hindi siya for a religion. Kung pwede man, pinayagan man na mag-hold ng misa dun sa loob ng kwarto na yon, sa loob ng area na yon, that is only incidental. Kasi gusto gamitin ng empleyado yung ganun. But that doesn't mean na yun ang inimpose ng DOJ, secretary. Di ba? Inimpose ng head sa department. No? So you get the point. No? I-move. Okay na to. Itong Section 29 Article, ay Paragraph 2, yung no public money shall be appropriated, applied, paid, or employed for the use, benefit, or support of any sect, and so on and so forth. Ang suggestion ko sa inyo, basahin nyo to, pero pag tinanong kayo, is this appropriation violative of the non-establishment clause? Hayaan nyo na po yung Section 29, Paragraph 2, Article 6. Ang suggestion ko sa inyo to determine if etong appropriation ng pera is unconstitutional or not unconstitutional, gamitin nyo na lang yung lemon test. Kasi ako talaga, no, ang sabi ko naman sa inyo, even sa remedial law, pag talaga may binigay na requisites o isang topic, bias talaga ako towards that. Why? Kasi pag alam ko lang yung requisites, ilang beses ko sinasabi to, at alam ko paano i-apply yung requisites, automatic 5/5 agad ako eh. Ganun kasimple. Kasi sometimes a question, especially sa political law, a question can be answered, sabi ko nga, multiple ways. As long as you respond to the question, bibigyan ka ng full points. Sabihin natin, the question di naman specific na sinabi na you apply Article 6, Section 29, Paragraph 2. Ang tinanong lang is this unconstitutional? Is the appropriation valid? Pag ganyan lang yung mga tanong, it's general in nature. It's up to you to use Section 29, Paragraph 2, Article 6, or yung lemon test. So, suggest ko sa inyo mag-lemon test na lang kayo. But before you quote the lemon test, ilagay nyo muna yung provision under Section 5, Article 3. No law shall be made respecting the establishment of a religion. Further, in order to determine whether the establishment clause, the non-establishment clause was violated, the lemon test shall be applied. To wit, first, the purpose prong. Is the purpose of the statute secular? O, di ba? Mga ganyan. Effect prong. O, yan. Tapos yung entanglement prong. You get the point. Basahin nyo na lang to. Okay. So, before we go to the free exercise clause, how do we differentiate establishment clause and free exercise clause? Pag sinabi yung establishment clause, positive action. Pag sinabi yung free exercise clause, passive action. Pag sinabi mong establishment clause, the state performs an act which promotes a religion. That is positive. Di ba? May galaw silang ginawa. Pag sinabi mong free exercise clause, passive yan. The state must not do anything, must not interfere, must not block, must not prevent the exercise of religion. It's passive. No? So you get the point. Yan po ang pagkakaiba. No? In the former, the state becomes involved through the use of government resources with the primary intention of setting up a religion. Doon naman sa latter, the state, without being entangled, merely gives consideration to its citizens who want to freely exercise their religion. Let's go to free exercise clause. Okay, so sabi ko sa inyo, two aspects of free exercise clause, freedom to believe and freedom to act on one's belief. Ang freedom to believe, guys, always allowed. It doesn't matter kung sinabi nung facts na naniniwala sa Satanas. Yung tao, yun ang nakalagay doon. Mr. A is, yun, Satanism ang pinaniniwalaan niya. Should he be prevented from doing that? Under the Constitution, the answer is no. No? Freedom to believe is absolute. It cannot be the subject of regulation because it is a mere thought. Ang subject lang po to regulation na pwedeng valid o invalid yung regulation is the freedom to act on one's belief. Once there's external act already, dyan na tayo magkakaalaman kung illegal o legal yung naging regulation na pinasa ng gobyerno. Okay. Sige. So there are three, doon na tayo sa freedom to act on one's belief, no? There are three standards of separation. Ayan na nga, benevolent neutrality tayo. What does benevolent neutrality approach mean? Okay. With religion, look upon with benevolence and not hostility. Benevolent neutrality allows accommodation of religion under certain circumstances. Accommodations are government policies that take religion specifically into account, not to promote the government's favored form of religion, but to allow individuals to exercise their religion without hindrance from their government. Okay, so ganito, gawa natin example, no, kulang to. Example, uh, a labor, a closed shop provision, ayan, in uh, a collective bargaining agreement is allowed under the labor code, no? Okay, so what is a closed shop provision? Kailangan mag-aral kayo sa labor law, no? A closed shop provision is a provision which states that all ano ba? All employees within the bargaining unit, within the collective bargaining unit must be a member, must become members of the sole and exclusive bargaining agent. Otherwise, they can be removed. They can be dismissed from employment. Non-members, ayan, lang, can be dismissed from employment. No? Now, Mr. A contends that he must be exempted from from the application of the closed shop provision because his religion prohibits him from joining any other organization except his religion. Ayan. Should Mr. A be exempted from the application of the closed shop provision? Yan ang context ng benevolent neutrality approach. Yes, allowed po yan. He must be exempted. Why? Because under, because under the benevolent neutrality approach, ano ba? Individuals, ayan, must be allowed to exercise their religion without hindrance from the government. Ayan. Thus, their religious beliefs, no, or their religious expression must be accommodated by the state. Ayun yung ibig sabihin yan. Okay? Ito po, this is, ano ba? Inspired po itong example ko na to nung ano, Elizalde, ano, Elizalde rope workers case, no, sa labor, no. Yeah, yun yung pangalan ng kaso. Elizalde rope, Victoriano versus Elizalde rope. Oh, yun. Ngayon po kasi allowed talaga yung close-up provision under the labor code kasi daw it promotes unionism. Kasi pag buo, no, isa lang ang union ng kumpanya, mas malakas po yung union pag makikipag-bargain siya sa employer. Kapag watak-watak yan, no, 100 ang unions nyo, di ba? Mas mahirapan makipag-bargain kasi iba-iba yung union eh. Di ba? Pero pag may close-up provision na talagang ini-impose na dapat kapag bago ka empleyado, doon ka lang sa sole and exclusive bargaining agent, mas matindi. Yung magiging laban nyo kapag nagkaroon na ng collective bargaining negotiation. Okay. Di pala can, shall be dismissed. Sabi, accommodate, single M o, di ba double M? Tama naman ako. Okay. Okay, we're good there. Tapos ang next dapat nating question dito, when can the state interfere with the religious expression of individuals despite uh, despite the despite the Philippines despite the adherence of the Philippines to the benevolent neutrality approach. Okay. Okay. There can be a valid interference if um, the clear and present danger test and or the strict scrutiny test, if it passes. Ayan. If the interference passes the clear and present danger test and or the strict scrutiny test. O, yun na naman tayo sa clear and present danger test na naman yan. Saka strict scrutiny. Sa natin uling nakita yan? Sa freedom of speech. Bakit po natin nakita siya ulit sa freedom of religion? Kasi guys, di ba ano nakalagay dyan? Religious expression. From the word itself. Expression. Ano ba yung nasa section 4? Freedom of expression. So magkakaroon po talaga ng intertwine kasi nga when you express your religious beliefs, that is also covered by freedom of expression. See? Di ba? You express. O, kami po, procession, no? Kami, naniniwala po kami na dapat nagpo-procession ang aming religion. Freedom of expression. Specifically, freedom of religious expression. Dinagdagan mo lang ng adjective religious. So, ang test mo pareho din. How can there be a valid interference? Valid regulation. Despite the adoption of the benevolent neutrality approach in the Philippines. Kapag naipasa clear and present danger test at saka strict scrutiny test. No? When can the state interfere or regulate? There can be a valid interference or regulation if the interference or regulation, ayan, passes the clear and present danger test and or the strict scrutiny test. No? So, ayan, application natin, apply natin yung test no, to some examples. Dinagdagan ko pa ng isang example itong Elizalde rope workers. No? Aside from that, itakil ko yung mga sinabi ko examples before. Inilay ko examples dito sa Word file natin. I-apply natin. Ito sabi ko, Mr. A believes that Satan is his supreme being. Can the state prevent him? No. Because the freedom to believe is absolute. It cannot be the subject of regulation. Next. Eto na, Satanism is an organized religion in the Philippines. Some of its believers are sacrificing people to worship their supreme being. Can the state restrain this religious worship? O benevolent neutrality approach pa rin ba tayo? Kasi sabi nila, ito po yung freedom po namin to, di ba? To exercise our religious beliefs, no? This religious right, no? Na mag-sacrifice ng tao, yan ang contention nila. So with that being said, the state must accommodate us when we exercise our religious beliefs. Tama ba yun o hindi? No. Because under the clear and present danger rule, religious expression can be restrained if there is clear and present danger that this expression leads to a substantial evil, such as killing of people. Diba? Na-i-apply natin. Ito yung gusto ko talagang ginagawa pag nagle-lecture ako. Hindi na, nagbibigay tayo ng examples from the simplest to the most complex. Like this one. Di ba? Ang simple lang. No? Madaling mag-get. No? So, can the state restrain, interfere, regulate this religious worship? Or, okay, dagdagan natin, or should the uh, benevolent neutrality approach be applied? Thus, ayan na lang. The state can restrain this this form of religious expression. No? And the benevolent neutrality approach shall not be applied to disbelievers. So, yun. Tandaan nyo, pag sinabi benevolent neutrality approach, the other word for that is accommodation. We accommodate the religious expression of people without hindrance from the government. Okay? Capitalize mo nga. Allow. Allow or accommodate na lang. Dagdag ko dito. In short, under the benevolent neutrality approach, the religious expression of people must be accommodated without hindrance from the government. Thus, when a law is passed, and a provision of this law contravenes, ayan, the religious expression of the people of a person, that person must be exempted from the application of that provision. Ayan. Ialay ko lang to as note. Note. In other words, wala in short, mahaba sinabi ko. In other words, under the benevolent neutrality approach, ayan, the religious expression of the people must be accommodated without hindrance from the government. Thus, when a law is passed and a provision of this law contravenes the religious expression of the person, that person must be exempted from the application of that provision. Like, example, like this one. Actually, ayoko to, I would like to i-replace ko to, bigyan niyo ko ng, ipopost ko lang to sandali. I will change this example. Gawin ko mas simple. Let's make it simpler kasi nag-apply na tayo ng dalawang laws, no? Mas maganda kung strict lang tayo sa political law. I'll replace this one. So, example ko para mas malinaw para sa lahat. The Congress passed a law which states that doctors and medical professionals are required, tandaan nyo ni-require sila ng law, mandatory. They are required to perform abortion in case the child was conceived by rape. Okay, so tama naman, no? Kung isipin natin, may sense naman po yung law na to na Pinas dahil syempre, hindi naman ginusto, no, na magkaanak in this case kasi nga, galing po sa rape, kaya nagawa yung bata. Kaya lang, si Mr. A doctor, he refused to perform abortion because this contravenes his religious beliefs. Kasi po sa religious belief niya, kahit na paano man daw nagawa ang bata, kailangan hindi po siya pwedeng i-abort. Okay? Kahit na paano nagawa, whether consensual or hindi, or forced, dapat hindi i-abort ang bata. Yun ang paniniwala ni Mr. A according to his religion. Tanong, should Mr. A be exempted from the application of this law? The answer is yes. Because under the benevolent neutrality approach, individuals must be allowed to exercise their religion without hindrance from the government. Thus, their religious expression must be accommodated by the state. Okay. Okay. Let's make it more precise. Individuals must be allowed to exercise their religion without hindrance from the government. Thus, they can be exempted. Pwede na siguro yan. The religious expression must be accommodated and thus Mr. A, okay, Mr. A's religious beliefs, yun, must be accommodated by the state. He must be exempted from its application. O, yun. Okay. We're good. Let's move to the other examples na nilay ko rito. Congress enacted a law banning a religion from being practiced in the Philippines because it allegedly raises terrorists. Basically, religion daw nato, yung mga paniniwala nila, nakakapag-raise sila ng mga terorista. Is this law valid? No. In-apply natin, pwede mong i-apply ng clear and present danger test to eh. Kasi nga, religious expression na naman siya eh. Practice, religion from being practiced. Practiced is also expression. Di ba? Pero in this case po, strict scrutiny test ang in-apply natin. In this case, the strict scrutiny test was not met, was not passed, because there are lesser intrusive ways to prevent terrorism. Di ba ano po yung requisites ulit ng ano? Strict scrutiny test? Compelling state interest. Aba, malamang may compelling state interest dito kasi ang state interest natin dito is to prevent, to eradicate terrorism in the Philippines. No problem. And as I said sa inyo, wala naman pong problema sa unang requisite lagi. Ang problem dyan sa strict scrutiny test, yung pangalawa sa pangatlo. Ano yung pangalawang requisite? Least restrictive, least intrusive ways. Diba? To accomplish this compelling state interest. At lastly is, it is narrowly tailored to accomplish the objective. In this case, sa second requisite pa lang, bagsak na tayo. Hindi na kailangan itakil yung third requisite. O sige, may compelling state interest tayo, prevent terrorism. Ito pang pag-ban sa religion na ito, mayroon pa bang ibang ways para mapigilan natin ang terrorism sa Philippines other than banning this religion? The answer is yes. Unang-una, walang basis. Di ba? Pangalawa, the lesser intrusive way to prevent terrorism is to actually capture and detain terrorists. Terminate terrorists. Not banning religion, di ba? And lastly, sige, i-apply na rin natin yung third requisite, no? Further, other than banning religion. Okay. Further, the law was not narrowly tailored. Yan. To accomplish, no? The objective of preventing terrorism. Because, ano ba? Hindi siya direct, because religion, no, is not, because the establishment of a religion, okay, because religious expression, because religious expression does not, yun, directly result to lesser terrorism. Yan, gets. Basically, pag sinabi niya narrowly tailored, yung provision ng law na yun, yung banning, ito nga, in this case, banning the religion, it is directly, di ba? Directly related towards accomplishing that objective. This provision of the law directly affects, directly benefits, directly accomplishes this objective. What's the objective in this case? To lessen terrorism, to prevent terrorism. If you ban a religion, does this directly result to lesser terrorism? No. Diba? Okay, so you get the point. We're there. Diba? Okay, we're good there. Okay, pakibasa na lang tong last two, galing sa kaso. Si American Bible Society case at saka itong in re letter of Tony Valenciano case. Okay? So next topic, the state must also be prohibited from meddling with the internal and purely ecclesiastical affairs of religion. So ano pa example lang? Purely ecclesiastical affairs of religion. Excommunication, no? Pagtanggal sa isang clergy member sa sekta, pagtiwalag sa isang miyembro ng religion, yung mga ganyan, tatanggalin sila sa religion, hindi na sila gagawing official ng religion, election sa religion, di ba? Beliefs in the religion, no? Hindi po dapat pwedeng mag-interfere ang state, no? ecclesiastical affair involves the relationship between the church and its members, okay, and relates to the matters of faith, religious doctrines, worship, and governance of congregation. Paano maging isang official sa religion, hindi dapat siya pakialaman ng state. Okay? Even administration of sacraments. Diba? The state should not interfere with the administration of sacraments. Okay? Civil courts will not interfere in the internal affairs of a religious organization. Like an example na lang sa administration of sacraments. Mayroon po isang religion sa Philippines, sabihin natin, umapayag po sila na magkaroon ng same-sex celebration. Okay, hindi naman po sinabing marriage ha. Pag sinabi mo kasing marriage, that's already part of persons and family relations, di ba? Civil rights na yan. Gawan ko nga ng example, sige. Okay, gawan ko ng example, nabanggit ko na rin. Example, a religion in the Philippines, no, allows the celebration of same-sex unions. The union does not have does not have the union is not considered. The union, parang the religion expressly states that this is not a marriage contemplated under the persons and family, under the family code, but is merely a celebration of the bond between two individuals regardless of gender. Question, can the state restrain this practice or sacrament that is exercised? That is exercised. Lagyan natin ng pangalan. Religion X. Ganun. Religion X, ayan, allows. Okay. Can the state restrain this practice or sacrament by Religion X? No. Because, ayan, internal and purely ecclesiastical affairs of religion are covered by the free exercise clause. Thus, the state cannot interfere with the administration of sacraments. Okay. Next example. F. Yun na lang. Example. What if tantamount na po siya to marriage? Di ba? This is tantamount to marriage contemplated under the family code. Can the state restrain this practice or sacrament by religion X? Yes. Pwede na. Why? Because the state can interfere once civil and property rights of the people are involved. In this case, if same-sex marriage, if the same-sex union is tantamount, no? In this case pala, huwag nang ganyan. All the rights, no, and obligations provided under the family code of spouses will be extended, no, to same-sex unions, no? Which is prohibited on the rights and obligations of spouses in this case, religion X, yan, extended all the rights and obligations of spouses to same-sex unions, even though the family code expressly states that the contracting parties must be a male and a female. Thus, the state can interfere because the administration of sacrament by religion X directly contravenes the law. O, ayan. So, ano pwedeng gawin ng state? Siyempre, i-declare niya as null and void yung mga kasal na yan, no? Assuming na magkakaroon ng petition. Di ba? Petition for declaration of nullity. So, ano yan dito? Dagdagan ko na lang. How can the state interfere? No? All the unions, all the same-sex unions will be declared null and void, di ba? In a petition for declaration of nullity of marriage. Further, di ba? The state can also, basically, can also prohibit religion X from administering any and all marriages. Whether opposite sex, same sex, di na pwede. Banned na kayo, basically. Pwede rin nilang gawin yun, di ba? Pwede rin gawin ng state yun. Okay? Kasi nga, nag-sanction sila ng isang marriage that directly contravenes the law. Diba? So, dapat sumunod po tayo sa law. So, pag di sumunod sa law, pwede tayong ma-impose ng punishment, basically ng state. What's that punishment? Ban to administer to solemnize marriage. From solemnizing, pag palang administering. Okay. So ito po, pakibasa lang itong kaso sa Pastor Austria versus NLRC. In this case po kasi, hindi lang siya na-excommunicate ng church. Nagkakaroon po ng termination of employment. So in this case po, hindi na purely ecclesiastical yung problema, naging na po siyang labor dispute. Dahil labor dispute na siya, the state can intervene already. Specifically, the labor tribunals. So pwede po mag-file ng illegal dismissal case yung pastor laban sa church kasi nga tinanggal siya not as a pastor only but as an employee already. So it is already about civil and property rights, allowing the state to interfere. Okay, next topic tayo, ito pong liberty of abode, pakibasa na lang to, and freedom of movement. We will go to, tapos tayo sa custodial investigation, we will go to, eto na, rights of the accused, yung mga bail, criminal due process, and so on. Sige, see you there.